through the whole month 6 months ago and go out and meet them. Go out and meet them. Be really careful. You don't want to interfere with their current contractual relationship with the landlord, because that is, you can get in big trouble for that. Has anybody heard about that rule? That if you and I are in a contractual relationship and this guy tries to interfere with it, I'm going to pick on Troy, Troy's in big trouble.
How much trouble?
A lot.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You lose your life.
If you
Interfere how?
Well, if you say, well, have you thought about breaking the lease?
Oh.
Have you thought about moving out early? Because by me saying that to you, right, interfered with yours and Troy's contractual relationship, and I have no business in that.
Right.
Believe it or not, I've gotten into some issues with recruiting agents that are on ICA agreements with like a 1-year exiting clause or a 90-day exiting clause that I try to convince them to come over during that time frame. And I've had the owners of those companies call me, and I'm just like, listen, you do whatever you want to do. My ICA agreement says that they can leave whenever they want, how they want. Ours might say 30 days, but a lot of these brokers that are running these big firms are putting long notices in their ICA agreements. Be very aware of that behavior. And so they make it impossible for you to leave. So let me give you an example. I had a guy that came over, and then anything he does in the next 90 days from the day that he leaves, he owes his broker money still.
No, that's,
Yeah.
Some are over like 2 years. I know
that's ridiculous.
Brand X down the road, it's 2-year commitment, and they take all your leads and your database.
It
Want
is
everything in
the-
there.
Your listings.
It is ridiculous out there, and if any of you ever fall for it, you know, I'm very saddened for you.
Well, a
Because,
new agent wouldn't really know. I mean, if you just.
Well, get the word out,
Well, a
because
new
they're-
agent has no database. I mean,
I know, but
When
still.
I
they
read
would-
that
but even then they make it
It's
impossible for you to leave.
Oh, God.
But what about, like, back to, you know, if someone's in a rental agreement and has a contract for another 6 months, what if, like, you try to honor that contract and buy them out? Like, for instance, I work with the new build community at
Oh,
NOQ,
right.
and I have people that still have 8 months in their lease. If I can get the builder to pay them out of their lease, would that be?
Okay, so the first thing I would ask for is put them on an agency relationship, right? And then maybe even a buyer broker, they have employed you for your services. I'd be very careful about getting involved in that contractual relationship. I would coach them to say, okay, look, we'll give you 2 months, what's your rent? $1,500. We'll give you $3,000. Go to your landlord and ask them if you can buy out your lease, and here's the $3,000, and stay out of that. Because I'm telling you, you could get in big trouble.
So they can still ask if they can get out of the lease. I mean, that's.
Yeah, but that's different than him asking.
And just have them.
yeah,
Because he's in-
they have to tell you.
Oh, okay, I
Yeah.
see. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So you're just
But-
saying
but-
don't get involved in it, not them.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're right. I just got a new home subdivision account, and that is one of the services that they're putting on me, that if a tenant comes in, can I do a buyout of their existing lease? And the answer is gonna be yes, but I'm gonna put the earnest on the tenant.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, you know, this new home division has allowed me to give you $3,000. Can you negotiate yourself out of that lease so you can buy this new home? And
Is
the
this a
answer,
chicken sandwich over there?
it is. Ah!
That's awesome.
Yeah, you're gonna be involved in that,
And what?
in DR Horton.
What'd you do?
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. But a lot of work. We gotta go out and visit now all these communities, and it's up to the new home agent to give you the account or not. And there's other people involved in that. There's like 6 people on the list. We're just one of 6. But get used to that, guys. You're gonna compete. It's a very competitive industry. You gotta bring it. Yeah. Just took your sister and I, your mom and I, just took a new listing in Desert Ridge, and the sign went up today without a coming soon sign writer on it. We told them there'd be a coming soon sign writer on it. So there's a strike one that was very easy that we missed, right? And you know, it's competitive out there. You don't want to make little mistakes that
No,
turn
it drives you
into.
nuts.
No, it drives you nuts, and because there's a lot of little things that we deal with. All right, so Scott, I'm going to do one more. You're going to drop off the Pat to Douglas. Here's what and I got to call back. Let me see if that was him. It was not. So here's the text that I sent to Doug. Now, we also have, do we have email? We do. We have email addresses on this guy. So I sent him a voicemail. This is the text that I sent him. Here we go. Douglas, are you and Linda going to interview agents for your home on Esteban Road? I've sold more homes in 85054 than any other agent. I also live in Desert Ridge, Del Roundtree, Max Fine Properties. And the text went through.
So you didn't reference that you left her a voicemail, or left a voicemail?
Well, he knows. You could. You can do whatever you want. Yeah, but definitely add whatever you feel is your flair, right? So now, voicemail, I sent him a text. Scott, what are you gonna do?
Drop the package off at the door.
But you're not gonna drop off the packet, what else are you gonna do?
What do
You're not just gonna go up and drop off the packet.
No, I'm gonna follow.
You're
Yeah,
gonna knock
After I
on
drop
the
the
door.
packet
you're gonna
off.
knock on the door.
And I've already got their stuff in my emails.
Right, but you're gonna,
No, door knock.
Door knock, yeah.
okay, all right, I want to hear you say
I'm
it.
gonna drop the packet, we're gonna knock on their door.
You're gonna knock on the door, and I'll tell you, who has knocked on a door before? All right, your heart's coming out of your chest, isn't it? Right? Now, you've already told me that's not in your game, right? Remember, we refer a lot to a game board. You've already told me that's not in your game. So if it's not in your game, then you gotta find out other strategies that are on your game board that get you from point A to point B, and you better figure it out, because if you're not involved in lead generation, you're gonna be nothing but average. People are not gonna call you off your website. They're not gonna call you because you happen to be a golfer and licensed. It ain't gonna happen.
What?
Yeah, they're not. Now, if you sit an open house for 6 weeks in a row, tell them about the house that you guys just listed in DC Ranch, because I think it's a great story.
So we were working one of Dell's listings in DC Ranch, had some clients come through the door, or some neighbors come through the door. We're not interested, just kind of nosy neighbor in it, just want to see, no problem. Struck up a relationship with them. They wanted to do some paint work in their house. I got a painter, you know. This was all just through the conversation of why they were in the home looking, being nosy neighbors. And stayed in contact with them through
Well,
getting
we
them a
went into their
painter.
house, like, after we closed the open house, and then they were like, come on, just come over and look at it.
Yeah.
Who's that happened to at open houses before? Pretty cool, right? Is that a good lead? Yeah, it's
Well-
a listing appointment.
It's kind of one of our games. Like that's one of my games that I always try to.
I love when neighbors come in. It's great.
So, and a lot of
try
people
to see their house.
just,
Always want to see their
like,
house.
they discount a neighbor, they're like, oh yeah, whatever, you're the neighbor, you're just being nosy. Those are some of the best leads we've had. We've turned a couple of neighbors into clients by talking and, oh great, we let us see your house, and going by and hanging out and sitting out there at kitchen counter for 30 minutes and having, you know, a glass of water with them. It's amazing how it's worked out.
Stayed with them for 45 days or so. They went back to Canada. As it turned out, they came back. I knew they were coming back in town. I called them, asked them if they got a hold of my painter, asked them if they got a hold of the interior designer. No, we haven't done it yet. However, we were in Canada, and you know, we have some issues kind of with our grandson and our family and our this and our that, and you know, we think we need to go ahead and sell this house that now is fine for us. Can you come over and let's talk about it? Went over there, signed a listing agreement that day, had it on market. Well, so before we even had it on market, I did another open house, piggybacking off the one in the neighborhood. I just threw a sign in the front yard and piggybacked off. Picked up another person in that neighborhood. Then got the house on the market. We couldn't get our photos till Tuesday. Had the house on the market on Wednesday. 5 hours, had an offer on it, and we're under contract for a February 28th closing, full price offer. And I knew when we looked at the house, and I told him, I was like, "This is the cream of the crop." You have.
And did you get a
that's
6% listing?
I did.
So 30 grand. 30 grand. So now Otley can go back, right? When we talk about numbers, so Otley now can go back. How many open houses did you sit at that house?
2.
2?
We got one.
Oh, no, and
Well, no, at your house.
Yeah, how many houses did you sit at that open house? How many open houses?
We were there for a month and a half.
Okay, so how many?
6.
6. So 6, he made 30 grand, right? So really, 6 divided by 30 grand, he made 5 grand at open house.
It was probably more than that. No, it was probably more times than 6. I bet we
Okay.
were there, like, because we were doing doubles on the weekends.
Whatever it is, you guys get
6
the,
weekends.
whatever it
It's
is, you
6
guys get the
weekends.
formula. Okay, so 12,
Yeah.
right? So 12,
So 25.
2,500, right? How many hours was the open house? 3. So you made $700 an hour by sitting that open house, right? You just didn't know it.
Right.
You just didn't know it. You've had people come back from your open houses a year later, 2 years later,
3 years later.
3 years later, right? So it doesn't happen overnight. I'm getting ready to close. At our next sales meeting, I'm going to go through a cycle of an expired listings. The guy's name is Ed Pardai.
I know, man.
You know Ed?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Scott, shame on you.
Too bad.
How do you know Ed? How do you know Ed?
I had some business with him.
Okay. Pilot, nice guy.
Pilot.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go through. It was an expired listing that I started working 3 years ago. Didn't sell it. Didn't sell it for 2 seasons. Hung in there. Paid on it like next month, or maybe this week. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over there today.
But what I'm letting you guys know is it doesn't happen overnight, but if you continue to work it and keep the momentum going, it will happen. All right, so I'm going to do another call. So this is, they were on the market. So the guy that we just called that was on the market 11 days said, in the additional comments, the agent said, don't call them, they're not interested in selling.
But that was 3 months ago.
Yeah, all right. So we're gonna call this one on the Feo, expired at $7.99. The seller's name, it was on the market for 103 days with Charlene Pontic. All right, here we go.
Checked out the code broke on this one.
2.5? What was it?
2.5.
Okay. Here we go. But you guys, these are, Dallas, are these abundant?
Say it again?
Are these abundant? Is there a lot of these?
Expireds?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Every day.
All you can eat, right?
Every day, there's new ones.
This is only one. Today we're concentrating on these a little bit more. The first number was bad. But Otley's open house that he sat, the listing that he sat was Circle Prospecting from a house, Dell Rounds. Was a Circle Prospecting call from an attorney, Neal's house, Kevin Neal's house. Because I sold that house, I Circle Prospect, bragging about that sale, listed that house from Circle Prospecting. Otley sits that house, picks up a buyer, or picks up a seller at another house. So you guys can see how, but it all starts with a listing or a sale.
We have $3 million in our pipeline from that house.
Really? That's awesome.
Okay. It's like a board number. It's a 408 number. Now, sometimes on these 408 numbers that,
It's California.
yeah, sometimes it'll be sister, brother, uncle, cousin, but if they answer, you can still get information out of them. You know, can you give me the right number? All right, disconnected. All right. I want to do one of yours, Christy. What do you have? It's
All 3 numbers were not good.
Yeah, it's.
So
you
this
can
is
see it.
an
I'll go by.
owner occupied, so they're out of Illinois, the owners are.
Okay,
So there's just so these are the owner's phone numbers.
so non-owner
Right,
occupied.
that's the phone number, that's 8.
Okay, these are great leads. Non-owner, when you see an out-of-state number on an expired listing, a heat-seeking missile in your brain should go off. These are great leads because they're already emotionally out of the state
Right.
and they have a problem. They have the big asset left behind, right?
Of course, these people may want to move back into the house since they have like 30 inches of snow, but.
That's your drunk monkey. Your drunk monkey. Maybe they have a new grandbaby and now they're never gonna leave.
That could be.
I'm teasing.
Oh, right here.
They want to buy it.
Yeah.
Maybe they like to
Sell
sell
a
it.
nice, different house.
Maybe they're out there making snow angels right now, they're not even answering the phone because they love it so much.
Well, and another one, this isn't Terravita, Terravita is hard as heck to get into, so we definitely want to call.
We did one of the biggest transactions in Terravita.
Okay.
You've reached Ellen and I'm unable to take your call at this time.
Is his wife's name Ellen?
Lisa.
At the tone, please record your message.
Ellen.
No, Ellen.
I still leave a message. Hi, Ellen. Dell Rounds with Remax Fine Properties in reference to your house at Terravita. I'm hoping you and Donald are finding out or trying to figure out what you're going to do with the house on Brilliant Sky. As you know, we're in the middle of peak season. Call me back when you get a chance, 602-809-7653, and it's Dell Rounds with Remax Fine Properties. You can Google me. You'll find some good information on my real estate accomplishments over the last 25 years. And I know the 85266 zip code really well. I'll date myself a little bit, but Del Webb doesn't even exist anymore. As you know, it's Pulte. I sold some of these units when they were originally new. Know the golf course really well. Anyway, call me back when you get a moment. Thanks, bye. All right, now usually when I make these calls, I didn't have your cell number, so let me have your card. Because I'll always say, this isn't dialing for Dell. What I'm trying to do is pull you guys into expanding your business, right? Not mine. So let me have one of your cards.
If she calls back, I won't talk to her.
Of course you do. If you didn't, I would think something's wrong with you.
If she calls back and yells at you, he doesn't want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was calling for Otley.
We just sold one of the biggest properties in there off MLS in one day, pre-MLS.
Have you circled prospect?
Oh, we did.
Would neighbors want to know that story?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't Otley circle prospect?
Well, we are going to.
When?
Today.
It's the same lady.
I don't know. Maybe.
Hey, Ellen, Dell Rounds with Remax Fine Properties in reference to the house that you and Donald own on Brilliant Sky. My partner, Otley, just sold a house in Terravita off MLS for an unbelievable price per square foot. Give Otley a call, 480-524-0441, or myself, Dell Rounds, at 602-809-7653. We have some great information in reference to Terravita. You can also Google Otley Smith. We're with the Otley Smith Group, and looking forward to helping you out and giving you some advice. We are in the middle of season. Today, as you might be aware, we're about 70 degrees, and we have the Waste Management Open going on, so a lot of out-of-town visitors. Okay, Ellen, hope you're having a wonderful Thursday. Talk to you soon. Bye. So make it a little personable. Now, go ahead and text these numbers. Use Ellen and Donald.
Okay.
So go ahead and do that while we're talking. Maybe you'll get a hit back. Like yesterday, who was I with that I sent the text out and she said, I think I was Circle Prospect, and I was Circle Prospecting, and I sent her a text, and she said, don't text me again. And I'm like, okay.
Did you text her? Okay.
No, yeah, just said, okay. No, right off the list.
Yeah.
Right? Where all you guys look at me and say, wow, this guy does that. He's so successful. He's that. He's that. No, I'm not. I just work a little bit harder, and I don't care about rejection.
So
I just,
So
yeah.
on Circle Prospecting, you make the call and then you text them?
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
We
Yeah.
can read card.
What does your text say?
So that one said, so Sleepy Ranch Road, it's not on the market yet. I said, I'm putting your neighbor's house on the market February 4th, 5017 East Sleepy Ranch Road. Do you have a buyer for that, or would you like a market evaluation on your home?
Okay.
And she said, don't text me again. Right? But do you really care that she texted me that?
No.
Am I smaller because she texted me that in your eyes?
Yep.
Am I like, now, am I going into the hospital because she sent that to me? Did my wealth change? Did it cost me $1 million to do that? No, right? And all you guys, let me tell you this, I strike out every second of the day before I get that one that says, come on over. You guys never hear about those, right? All you say is, oh, Jill, Dell got another listing. But you don't realize the pain that I went through to get that one. It's hard. But if you do it inch by inch, I'm gonna celebrate one of the best books out there is that Book of No.
Go for now.
Yeah, Go for No. Celebrate the no's, because the no's that you get, you're that much closer to a yes. If you look at probability of saying, okay, 15% of the people that I call today are going to make a decision in selling their home, the fastest you get to through those 85 no's, now you're down to the 15 yeses. So that's why you got to keep pushing and moving the ball.
So I have 2 things to share.
Yep.
One, I will just tell you guys, I walked in on Dale the other day because I was going to ask him a question, and he was circle prospecting. Totally impressed. Like, it's nice to know that he's not bullshitting.
No, I couldn't. You scared me. You said you walked in on it. I was like, how do you get in the bathroom stall there?
Second thing I want to say is I was calling expireds a couple days ago, and I got the coolest rejection. This guy he was like, yeah, and that was the 27-day one. He said, yeah, we pulled our house off the market. First of all, he's like, Dr. So-and-so. And I was like, oh shit, yes sir. And so I asked him about his property, and he's like, yeah, we took it off market, we're gonna keep it. And he's like, I really appreciate you calling and doing your job, and I understand that this is how realtors make their money and what they do. Can you please take me off your call list for keeping our home? And I said, absolutely, happy to take you off your call list. But it was just really cool that, I call this guy, and they understand what we're trying to accomplish, and he was totally respectful, and I was respectful, and they done it.
Yeah, and it's the same token. If somebody says, look, I'm on the do not call list, just apologize and say, look, I'm just trying to make a living. I didn't realize that you were on that. Obviously, the service that I used didn't scrub your house properly, and move on.
If I'd have known that guy was a doctor on that list before just randomly calling him, oh man, my drunk monkey would have been doing backflips on my shoulders. Like, you can't call that guy. He's probably in surgery. He's a doctor, for Christ's sakes.
What?
I don't know.
See, I think, now isn't that fascinating? See, I think high net worth, and he hangs out with doctors.
Yeah, it's just,
I
So-
think, the more professional the guys are, the nicer they're gonna treat you. Because it just kind of goes hand in hand. People that are rude to you are usually, they're pissed off at something that's not even related to you.
They don't appreciate the hustle.
The hustle. Yeah.
Some of them.
I think you're absolutely right. I'm just saying it's just that weird mental hang up that you're like bothering this guy that's so important. And really,
But see, you're not. They have a problem that needs to be solved.
I agree.
Okay, all right. Did anybody come today for anything specifically? I know you're looking for multifamily. I'm going to hook you up with Patrick. So I
And I have two chasseurs. I had a list of call number. So I first call. I was kind of targeted. I called the guy, no response. I emailed, no response. The morning after, I call back, the guy respond, when can we meet? So I went to a listing appointment, but up front he told me, because he was expired from last year. He said, I already have someone, so it was a direct deal. So I have to wait like a few more days to see if it's going through or not. But from this lead, he already referred me to someone else for the sale of property.
So you were working an expired listing?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, because I'm glad that you recalled him, because once you have these lists, they're timeless until they either list or die. Right? You don't have to call him every day, but leave him a message, and then 30 days from now, if he hasn't relisted, right, you scrub those, go right back at him. They're endless.
What do you do, on our list, sometimes it'll say Edward and Jean, and then say Edward deceased. I've had a problem with that.
Well,
Hey, is that around?
Well, no, but if you know that, then you would go right to Gene, right? So,
Yeah.
So, and then you could say, hey, I heard the unfortunate news about Ed. My
You
condolences.
bring it up, kind of.
Well, I mean, you could.
Yeah.
Or you could play dumb and just wait till she brings it up.
It's just kind of a roadblock for me, that's all.
Really?
Well, we had,
Yeah.
we called and we didn't even know he was deceased, and they told us. And it was kind of weird because I guess the dad had just recently passed away, and I almost felt like a ambulance chaser, and it was purely just happenstance that we happened to call right
That's
after he
kinda
passed
how I-
away. Yeah.
But that elevates their need.
I know a couple.
Now do
locals
they
that-
want to get closer to family? You know,
They had their house on the market anyway, you know.
so I would just move forward and say, you know, I've heard about the unfortunate, if you want to go there, unfortunate circumstances. Really sorry about that. I deal with a lot of estates. Do you need any help in that segment?
That's good.
Yeah, because they might be involved in probate. Lot to that, right? Like you got to have a birth certificate with a raised seal. I don't know if you guys have ever gone through that, but if a significant other dies and they own their house jointly, they usually get 5 certificates with a raised seal that the title company will eventually need to prove that so and so passed away.
Or power of attorney.
Maybe power of attorney could work. But the title, Troy, you guys deal with that all the time. Call your title rep and they'll tell you exactly the chain of events that you need to go through to get that. If anything's in a trust, like if they hold it in a trust, just go ahead and ask them for the first 4 pages of the trust right at the listing appointment, or borrow a copy of that, just like what we did the lady at Gold Canyon Ranch, so that you can scan it. You don't have, in the interview, you look that much more professional if you can see things coming. You know, just like every interview that I don't sign right there on the spot, I say, okay, here's 3 documents that I'm going to give you some homework now. Call your insurance agent, clue report. Here's the seller's property disclosure statement that you need to fill out. And then the third, homeowners association. And I just give them the front copy of the homeowners association because it's 3 pages. You don't have to give them the other 2, just give them the front one. Make their life easy, right? Because the only thing they have to fill out is the front one. I say, here's your homework. The good news is, Scott, I now put you 10 days ahead of schedule once you fill out these 3 documents. So act like you have it. So even though they didn't sign it, I'm leaving the interview like they're mine because I gave them homework. The other agent that says, I'm interviewing other agents and they don't give them any homework,
They're just out the door.
I think I'm a step ahead. Well, Dell already gave us these documents, right? I've already filled them out. They're his oh, geez. I got to hire Dell now or whatever, right?
Did you ever, so I know Darren and Tucker went on an appointment, and Tucker said he would call the other agents if they wanted to hire them and tell the other
Sure.
agents that were coming. How does that script go?
So that goes like this. So who wants to role play with me? Since you know it, yeah, I do. Okay, Chris, the first step is I got the photographer set up on Thursday. Does that work for you?
Well, I'm interviewing 2 other agents.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Mm.
2 other top agents in the area.
Oh, are any of them RE/MAX agents?
Nope.
Well, you do know that I am the top agent in this area, right? I mean, I can't remember how we initially met.
I think you called.
Okay, all right.
Circle prospecting.
All right. So, have you done any background on our Zillow reviews or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I looked you up.
All right, good. Yeah. All right. Well, you're very secure in our hands. Are you interviewing any other RE/MAX agents?
No, RE/MAX agents, but I'm interviewing two other top teams in the state.
All right. Is there anything that you're concerned about my ability to sell your house that would hold you back?
I just want to make sure I've got the best person for this neighborhood.
All right. Well, I'll be happy to call those if you're comfortable with me. If you don't want to go through 2 other hour-and-a-half interviews, I'd be happy to call them and cancel the interviews.
Oh, that's good verbiage. Okay. All right.
All right, and I'd be a little careful. I mean, people don't want to feel like you're on the spot, but I do think that a trial close, for instance, one of the things that I use, let's say I was interviewing today, right? Call Arizona Republic and find out what the deadline is for an advertised open house, right? So some of the things that I use, and I use this automatically, right? I say, hey, I have you scheduled for an advertised open house this Sunday from noon to 4. Does that work for you?
Mm-hmm.
Now watch this. Does that work for you?
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right. So I can get the photographer here tomorrow by 3. Start filling this out, and you do an assumptive close. Both of those were assumptive closes because if she agrees to the open house on Saturday at 4, what else did they agree to?
List the house.
Right. We've done that. We've gotten a listing. We were like the second interview. And they were interviewing 3 agents, and Kelly was just like, we have photos scheduled already and an open house scheduled this weekend. Are you good? And they were like, wow. They were like, yes, you're good. Like, we're not going to interview. They actually were impressed and like like that we took action already and we're very proactive,
Yeah,
rather than just being like, oh, we can sell it for this, we'll get back to you on that, like,
right. So, right, you guys know a calendar, right? So 2/1, right, and there's a box there, and right, you guys get the ideas, right? And you bring this with you on your listing appointment, and you say, okay, we got photos set up here, I got the open house set up here, I got you on the tour here, I got you, this is 21 days into it, so we're gonna meet that day and do a refreshing, right? Because 21 days into it, we should be talking again. And you label all that out on a calendar, and it's a powerful listing presentation. Because they know that you have a plan 30, 60, 90 days into it. Right? And then you could even go here's another 30-day benchmark. This is a big deal. If we don't have 15 showings by then, or a second showing, if we don't have 15 showings or a second showing by that time, we need to talk about price.
In 30 days?
30 days, yeah. 30 days, 15 showings. If you don't have an offer or a second showing, 30 days into it, I think that you need to chat. Obviously, that's price sensitive. You know, I'm talking about mainstream, middle America, not
Right.
$8 million, right?
I have a question about title. I figured this would be a good place to ask it. So
Why?
Uh,
Oh, yeah, as we're looking at
Mercy.
So I had an offer on a South Scottsdale listing. You know, the strong offer, full asking
Who do you
price,
represent?
the seller.
Okay.
And
Full asking price?
full asking price, 2% seller concessions. So, you know, I was drafting the counter, got the counter signed, basically countered title and 1% seller concessions. So tried to do a clean counter. You know, title Jennifer Cockfilla, Fidelity National Title. Sent it to the
What do you say
agent.
about that, Troy?
I say thanks, Gabe.
Well, don't say thanks yet, because I sent it
Thanks
to
for
the
the
agent,
try.
and she called me right away, and she was like, hey, have you sent the counter? I said, it's in your inbox. She's like, well, what is it? So I told her over the phone, and she was like, no, title's a deal breaker. You know, it needs to be our title company that we use. It's the buyer's decision. She got really, you know, difficult with me over the phone, and I was like, well, it's signed, it's sent. Title, I lied and said, you know, Fidelity has already done the preliminary title work, and, you know, explained that, and she wouldn't have it signed because of title, and then I told her, sign it, if title's that big of a deal, make an addendum, and she ended up making the addendum. So like what a good
Yeah, how
ways
much
to-
she pushed. So good question. So how long has the house been on the market?
Like 36 days.
Okay, so it's been on the market a while. As your consultant, I'd be really careful about that, right?
Yeah.
Because if your seller ever found out, right? Because the sellers usually aren't emotional
They don't care.
about what title company. Not like banking, no offense, but not like banking. Like I've done surveys where they usually have banking relationships, but they never have title relationships, right? So if you lost that deal because you were pushing for Fidelity and the seller got wind of it, not good for you.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
But it's not the buyer's decision who title is, really. I mean, is it?
no,
It's-
that is not correct, because you can argue that the seller's paying for it, because some of them will say
Right.
RESPA. So when a buyer's agent pushes back to me on that, I would say, look, you already got the counter in front of you. Push it through to your buyer and let your buyer respond. Because if they come back with a counter 3 and everything is in but title, that's probably where you want to just say, you know, it's not worth it. But the 850 deal that I just did, put title company into it, and they were already closing on the sale of the home. This was their buy with Pioneer Title. And I said, okay, well, you have counter 1, respond the way you wish. They signed it.
Good.
Yeah. So I got
Sometimes you can get away with it.
my title company involved. Well, not sometimes. It depends on the rhythm. If your house is on the market 90 days and you represent the seller and you have a 105-day listing, I don't think you want to be fucking around with the title company, right? I mean, don't be silly, right? And then make sure your seller knows what you're countering, right? I wouldn't counter if you got a full price offer with a 7-day close. I'm going to ask Troy this question. Troy, if I got a 7-day cash offer and they're using ABC title, would you expect me to counter that with title alone?
No.
No.
We never want to put a deal in jeopardy.
Right. Right. And you never want to put your seller in jeopardy.
Yeah.
If the seller doesn't know what you're doing, so I'll say, like when I'm involving my title, right, I'll explain to them, they're right down the street, they're nationally renowned, so that when you're in Chicago, we can do off-site signing. You're gonna get a good settlement statement. They're not going anywhere. If a big company like Fidelity, a Fortune 500 company, goes somewhere, the whole earth is going with it, right? Comments like that to where, does everybody know the difference between a title company and an agency? Why does yours say agency? You guys do, because lawyers, you underwrite through lawyers.
No, we underwrite through Fidelity, but that's a question I get bits and pieces on, and I don't have a good answer for.
Yeah, so if they say agency, that means they're not.
I don't know the answer, it's a good answer, but I don't remember it.
I just noticed that.
It's under,
You better get us that answer, Troy. All right, so here's the deal. There's a difference between one of the biggest underwriters, I think, in the world is Lawyers Title.
No.
Oh, it's an underwriter. Careful.
No, but I thought that Chicago was
No.
one of the biggest.
I'm pretty sure
underwriters.
Fidelity
It's
is the
Fidelity.
underwriter.
Fidelity's the
Okay, so you hear
Fidelity.
Chicago Title, that means that they're the title company and the underwriter. If it's an agency, they're outsourcing it. Yeah.
Fidelity is like a parent of,
They're sisters.
Fidelity owns everything. That's why I'm surprised you guys are an agency.
Yeah, it's something to do with the name, but
Okay.
Fidelity underwrites 45% of the country.
Well, then you got Fidelity itself.
Fidelity.
You guys should remove agency.
Yeah, there's something about that.
Okay. So that's the difference. So like you could open up Dan Agency, Dan Title Agency, DTA, Dan Title Agency. You got to go through state banking. It's a lot of bullshit, right? So it's not easy. But the underwriter of that, 50% of the time is Lawyers Title. They're one of the biggest underwriters. I don't know your guys' business. I don't want to know it.
Fidelity, Chicago, Lawyers, Grand Canyon, they're all in the same umbrella, so they all
Okay.
can underwrite.
First American
Correct.
underwrites and Fidelity, right?
First American definitely
Those
does.
only two.
First American and Fidelity, I think we underwrite, or we, like I still work at Fidelity. You guys underwrite for like Old Republic and all them, don't you?
I don't know about Old Republic, but Stewart now too, and.
You guys-
I've never noticed that.
Yeah, and we've talked about it different times, and it's confusing to the people that really kind of understand what agency.
I don't think
means.
that's always been there.
It's probably gotta have something to do with your liability of the.
There is something, and I just need it
It's
better.
because
Yeah,
there's
it's
so
not.
many
It's not a
Fidelities.
big. It's not a major deal. But one of the most influential things, you guys can be influential around title, right? And the advantage of that is when you do have directable business, is because then you become what I call a player, right? So I'm going to throw you under the bus, Troy, but sorry. They have relationships that are very deep and very wide, and they can be very influential in paying back, right? So they have relationships with CRM companies. They have mastermind groups. They have relationships with CRM companies and SEO companies out of Fidelity that are buyers that are looking to buy and sell. Fidelity,
Oh, right.
yeah.
So why are you putting him under the bus? That's a
Because now everybody in this room is going to be calling Troy saying, how do I get on these?
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you how you get on them. Directable business and lead generate.
Gotta
Because
stay
you're
loyal.
not going to get on their radar until you're a big fish. There you go. Ha! And that's why the Rounds team works, Chris, because I don't interfere with your brand. I let you run with chrisusher.com and those types of things, right? Because I want you to become influential and big so that you're not always under a shadow, right? I don't want anybody to be under a shadow. I want you guys to be good businessmen and women. And the way to do that is be influential, give people what they want before you get what you want, and put people to work. And I mean everybody, roofers, pool guys, electrical companies, builders, surveyors. Jim Loftus has been around for 30 years. Who knows Jim Loftus? There you go. You should know Jim Loftus. He's one of the biggest surveyors here in town. If Jim Loftus had a friend that wanted to buy or sell, guess who's going to get that call? Me.
So we need to find our own surveyors.
Yes, you do. Yeah. Well, anytime one of you guys call me for a referral, I ask you first, go into your own influential group, right? Happy to give you mine, But he's gonna see Remax Fine Properties, I think that came from Dell, you know, so I've had Jim Loftus in our company giving a land survey talk. I don't know if you guys remember that, it's probably 2 years ago, but you wanna become that person. I saw you networking at the Phoenix Open yesterday, anything big happen? I saw you two there. Did you guys meet any customers? Did you?
Yeah, actually, I networked for you yesterday.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I ran into an agent from KW,
thank you.
and it was funny because I just kind of spit it out, just quick off the cuff, and he was just quick to be like, yeah, no,
What about the EXP?
been down that road. Yeah, and so anyhow, then in another conversation, we were just talking about lead gen and stuff, and talking about his business, and I didn't even pursue it anymore about Remax, but I just took the opportunity to tell him, you know, how awesome it is to, you know, go to your business development and the things that you do, and so just planted that little seed in there, which it's probably not gonna work, because he was pretty adamant about, he's good. I'll tell you more of the story.
All right, so here's everybody's homework. Here's everybody's homework. You're gonna go to your zip code, and you're gonna look up who signed leases 6 months ago. You're only gonna have the address. Are you gonna have the tenant's information? Are you gonna have the tenant's information?
No.
No, because how would you have the tenant's information? Would you have the tenant's agent on there?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but are you gonna call him or her? No, why would you do that, right? So you're gonna go back, I'm just giving you guys a little bit, because you're gonna run into stumbling blocks, and you know, it's like 2 + 2 could equal 5 in this situation, you're gonna be trying to figure it out. So you're all, this is everybody's homework. Is everybody in? Okay, everybody's gonna go back, so what month is it? We're in January. So-
Okay.
Thank you, February. So if we go back 6 months,
August.
okay, so you're gonna go into your zip code. I'm gonna use this as a strategy, 85050. You're gonna go back to everybody that signed a lease. There's gonna be a section there in a box. You're gonna go in class 3. What's the class? Residential. Class 2. And you're gonna pull a date, August 1, this is when lease was signed, to August 31st. Now, could you go back to July? This is endless. You could go back further
Go back
than this.
a year.
And you could even take it to September, right? You could even take to, yeah.
On the expired leases, I put every, you know, usually expireds, if they do come off the market, sometimes they do lease or rent.
Yeah, but it's a little late,
Well, when I see that.
because they're making decisions,
I
but go
put it
ahead.
in my tickler for like 10 months or 9 months.
Yeah,
And they're gonna, the buyers, these people are gonna be coming off their lease. Not that I'm gonna send them a direct, you know, hey, I know you're coming off lease, but just trickle a couple postcards or a letter. And they'll tell you who the seller, where they are, because sometimes those addresses are hard to find.
absolutely. But what I'm hoping you guys are gonna do is door knock these, right? So you're gonna pull these. You're gonna get 5. Who knows, right? You're gonna get 5, you're gonna look at the tax records, and you have 2 clients here. You got the landlord that might wanna sell, right? And then you have the tenant that's in the house. So really, this is a double banger, right? You got both strategies here. What is the tenant gonna do when this expires in 6 months? And what is the landlord gonna do when this expires in 6 months? Right? So you're gonna pull all those. Does everybody know how to do this? Okay, so that's your homework between now and Thursday, right? I hope everybody in this room comes, because I have a list. Jen, make sure I get a copy of this list, and I want everybody back here with how that went. Yeah,
Troy, can you get us, if we have our list, can you get us the homeowner's information on the list? Or do we need to like use other sources to get homeowner information?
I mean, where they moved?
No, like the people that actually own the property. Like, can we give you a list of people we want information on?
well, you'll know who owns it, because you got the tax records here.
Well, but I don't have any of the contact info, like,
Oh,
is
so
that contact info you
Oh,
can pull for us?
like as in phone and email?
Yeah, like if it's in your system or anything
So
like
there's, we have one tool, Total Farm, that
The
gets
farm.
some of that. That will do some of it, and we're actually, just last week at one of our meetings, we have a group that's working on a really cool new information tool app thing that could be very powerful. They're claiming their info is better than LexisNexis.
Wow.
They've
That's saving
done
me $2,000 a month.
Yeah, so because I know you, and it's good stuff, and and at this point, they're in testing phase, they're saying it's a higher percentage of accuracy and the affordability is better.
Great.
This is
So-
a great group to
That-
test.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, 'cause we'll do it.
It's, and that was just last week, real time, so the Total Farm is an avenue, but this could be a really good avenue as well, but
Yeah.
it's in process.
Okay, Jen, I need you to write this down.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be-
Who will do this homework? Okay, do you see everybody?
Keep them up. I can't write that fast.
Everyone who's not gonna do it, right?
Okay.
that's probably.
Is there another one over here?
Oh, that's
Okay,
right.
go.
It's
There's
not,
three.
it's not on your board game, that's
No,
cool.
it's not on my board game today.
I'm gonna try it.
Good.
I'm gonna do it. I don't know how to pull the list though.
So
I'll research that and I can.
see what Colleen
I'm
did
gonna do it.
is she, right, we all have,
Take the big guys.
we're all playing a board game to get from point A to point B, and you just added another piece to your board game. Congratulations.
I'm gonna give it a whirl.
Yeah.
I'll let you know
My
next
board game.
Thursday. What?
Get off my board
Get
game.
off my board game. This will be the second thing that I'm gonna go through with you.
Uh-oh. Why, was she in the same zip code?
No, I just meant like, I'm teasing.
He gave me some tips last week
Well,
and it
yeah.
helped. He and Christy have been great.
The other thing about that is Brian Keller had somebody that wanted to lease, and he started talking to them, and he's like, why are you leasing? You couldn't qualify for a mortgage, so find out from your lender what, you know, because that's another avenue to get the tenant to buy and
Exactly,
lease again.
yeah.
Absolutely. So Chris brought up a good point, so I probably didn't make my point home. There's two strategies to this when you go back 6 months. A, what is the landlord gonna do with that asset when the lease expires in 6 months? Right? B, there's a tenant in there that you wanna talk about homeownership in Arizona. If they're not going to buy, which is a great strategy 6 months out, if they're not gonna buy, are they gonna re-lease the place they're in, or do they wanna look? Are you gonna make a lot of money off a lease?
And
$1,500.
we should eventually.
But sometimes they don't know they can qualify for a loan.
Exactly.
Right.
They could be a first time home buyer and not even realize it.
Right, so there's multiple strategies here of going out and having a ground game of hitting that and finding out what's going on. Because if the tenant does answer, you can get information of, well, when your lease expires in 6 months, right, in January, right, because it's 1 year, January, where are you moving to? Oh, it doesn't expire in January, March. March. Because now you can say, hey, Mr. Landlord, right? You can go through Troy or other sources to track down the landlord, our mailing address. Hey, what are you going to do with this house when it expires in March of 2000?
20.
Thank you. Whatever. 2020. Property management. I can help you lease it. Every little bit gets you closer to your point B. It might not be a home run, $1 million sell, but inch by inch you'll get there, and you gotta crawl before you can walk. It's a great way to get your feet wet.
But it's also
Some of those
learning.
tools can get you some of that non-owner occupied kind of stuff and information on posts. In
I've been
fact,
doing it on Total
I-
Farm. It's just like, it's kind of hard. Like you have to.
you have some steps. I just did it on my own home and it had my wife's cell phone.
You
did?
Yeah.
Scary.
So, I mean, it was like
Yeah, I know,
an
gotcha.
out-of-state cell phone that's real, so.
All right, I would ask, Pam.
Well, and the other thing about that is every contact is another referral source. So even if you're putting someone in a lease, they know people that know people. So it doesn't. I
We're good,
always
Jen.
think about
Yeah.
that.
Thank you. And TJ was a bank teller at Wells Fargo.
Wow.
And TJ would see me coming in there and cashing all these checks. And TJ would say, you know, my mom's a broker in Virginia. And I said, well, TJ, why don't you get into it? Oh, no. You know, and I'm putting in, 10,000 here, 20,000 there. He goes, wow, the market must be really good. And he's at the AJ shopping center there when they used to have a Wells Fargo in there. And I'd come in the next month, another 20, 30, 40,000. He goes, wow, the market must be good there. And I'm like, TJ, what are you doing back here? What are you going to do with your life, right? And then about 2 years of that goes by. And one day he calls me up and says, okay, I'm ready. Let's get involved. And we brought him into Coldwell Banker, and then he made the jump with us into the RE/MAX franchise, and then got on Helene's team. And interesting story, but I've known TJ ever since he was a kid, probably 23 years
Oh, wow.
ago.
Okay.
Yeah, he's single and not married, and but it's fascinating how Carl. How long have you and I known each other?
Oh, about that long, about 18 years.
Yeah, Scott?
20-some years.
Yeah. Long-standing, deep-rooted relationships, right? I mean, that's really what it's about. So that, if you take, this is interesting, right? I really believe this in life. You can't get what you want until you give people what they want. You know, TJ was really screaming that, get me out of this, right? I mean, not a bad job, right? I mean, Wells Fargo was a big company, right? But he eventually made the loop, and I mentored him for about a year, and then, he always calls me for advice and counsel, but a great gentleman.
Yeah.
All right, who brought leads today? Anybody bring any lead to follow up on? Or even cold call? FISBO?
Can you be for anything?
Nope.
We're just gonna leave here today.
Nope.
All right.
Yep.
Like you said, yep.
Yep, all right. Nice seeing you, Greg.
Hey, darn it.
I recommend the expired.
Wait, you brought what?
Expired.
Do you have good numbers? Let's call one. All right, so Chrissy has been door knocking, and I'll come back to this one thought that I don't want to forget, and that was rentals. Chrissy jarred my mind yesterday about a rental deal that I used to do that I had forgot about. That's a lead generation idea. All right, so let's pick the first one.
Okay, well, I'm not organized.
Okay, all right, no worries. No, that's all right. I know. You got something? What do you got? Are these our door knocks today?
Yeah.
All right, tell them about, well, you guys already heard the door knock, the 1,070,000 that Scott and I did. Scott, tell them the readers, did we talk about that last week? Reader's Digest version, tell them the 1-minute story.
I think the property expired in December.
Yep.
Dell called and said, hey, get the list together. We'll go out and door knock as many as we can. So we left about 3:34. And left the packages at 2. And the third one, they wouldn't answer the door. And so Dell gave him a call on our way over to the fourth one, but the guy answered the phone. And he was home. So Dell set up the appointment.
For the following day?
For the following day at 9:30.
9:30 in the morning.
And I went back and made sure that he had a package. So the next day, it was pretty much,
Yeah, we interviewed,
Yep.
told him some great things that we could do.
Yep.
Which sometimes it's little things, like you can look at the MLS and say, you can armchair quarterback anybody, right? Like right now, you can armchair quarterback with me and say, well, Dell shouldn't have started there. He should have started here, right? Can't you do that with anything?
Sure.
Like you should part your hair on the left, it'd look better on the right, right?
Yeah.
Like why, Dell shouldn't be wearing boots today, you should be wearing, right? You can do that with anybody, right? But you can also do that in marketing, right? So one of the things that I just point out, you can do this on any freaking expired. Now this one has it, but see how this one has, this is just a little thing. It's a little thing. See how this one has the gap for measurements, but there's none in there?
Right, oh, yeah.
And this one doesn't have it,
Yeah.
right? Look at the two differences, see it? Right? So when I'm on an interview on expired, see the difference? The gap, there's a gap there. This one. So sometimes I just bring that up, and I brought this up in the interview. I said, yeah, I thought it was interesting that they didn't use the full capacity of the MLS. And the guy goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, there's a gap right here. And because you have 6 bedrooms, a flex room, an exercise room, I'm surprised that your agent didn't use the MLS to its fullest and measure the house. And they're like, whoa, that's why our house didn't sell. What? Right? I mean, and is that the reason why their house didn't sell? No.
Bad agents.
But could it have been that a buyer was looking online and needed a 5-bedroom, right? And saw that, oh, well, there's 2 other measurements there that could be a bedroom that are currently earmarked as flex rooms, right? So anyway, we put enough seeds in this guy's head to where what ultimately happened, Scott?
Well, one of the other big things that Dell, when we looked at the MLS, he said, your last agent was only paying 2.5% co-broke. And he said, well, yeah, we talked to her about that, but we're going to pay 5%. And we wanted to pay the buyer broker 3%, but she insisted she was going to split it 50-50.
She lied with me.
She did.
So this is a good thing too. So right down here at the bottom of the MLS, when I start talking about commissions, you can, so 2.5, this is fascinating, 2.5.
A lot of them that are 2.5.
Three, right? So when we're talking about commissions, when I get into commissions in a listing interview, I always divide it up that, there used to be some pins here.
Here, right here, Dylan.
No, a bold one.
Marla Bruce.
Left
Yeah, one of
side,
those big.
podium, left side. Right
Where?
there, John. Right hand.
Oh, so I always, thanks. So I always break that up and I show them on, like 6%, right? 3 and 3. What your agent did is they went to 5 and they split that 2.5, 2.5. That's a published fee. Some buyer's agents might look at that and say, hey man, I'm not gonna do that for 2.5, I'm only gonna show 3% listings.
For 0.5% on, 600,000 or whatever, it adds up.
Yeah, and that guy, I can't remember what he said, but
It wasn't happy.
well, but if it's failure, right? If they're not successful in that, in addition to the square footage, you can point that out that said, hey, because they're buying too. I think we told them that we would do it for 5.5.
No, it was, well, we said that, but then he said, no, it's only 5%.
Okay,
So
so
when I
5%,
said-
but we're giving the lion's share to the buyer's agent. It's a $1,070,000 house, and I think there's a possibility they're going to buy through us.
Possible.
Yeah.
Possible.
So there's that backside there.
So did you do 5%?
Yeah, I think we did.
Even
Well,
without them buying?
Scott can tell you.
Yeah, we did 5%, and first of all, I sent 5.5 on the MLS, on our sheet. He said, Said,
Yeah, because and a lot happens from the interview standpoint to when you actually get it signed, right? Does a lot happen between there? Because at the interview, I told the guy, well, let's just take this up 0.5%.
Yep.
And let's give that 3% to the buyer's agent, and we'll do it for 5.5, right? And he
didn't hear
agreed.
that.
He agreed to that.
But he didn't really hear it.
No, but he agreed to it. Why didn't I get the paper signed that? Refresh my memory. Why didn't I get the paper signed there on the spot? What was their objection?
They,
I think he told me he was leaving town and he would let us know on Monday.
Monday. So that's when we started to follow up. By emails, texts, and finally on Sunday afternoon we said, yeah, we're going to go with you. But I don't think they're going to interview everybody else. I mean,
And
they
didn't-
did have, brand
You didn't
X.
think at that stage you were going to interview anybody else? Right.
Can you do, so we've been starting to do 5.5 on the sale and a 0.5% discount if they buy with us.
Yeah, great rebate.
Yeah, and
I like that strategy because then you get the sell done
you got them tied
and you
up.
don't get screwed out of the buy.
Right, exactly.
It's a great way to go.
Because we
Yeah,
got screwed out of the buy. And then the other thing is.
we all have.
Yeah, Jen Marsh, the assistant that Darren has, when she worked for a previous agent, when she had her set up auto emails, she had her set up only for 3% co-books. So
Oh,
Jen-
and she
so Jen
earmarked that.
refused to do it. So Jen would set them up for 3% and then the agent she worked for would go in and change them to, or 2.5. I'm sorry, Jen would just set up the auto email and then the agent would go in and add in, she's only gonna send to her clients 3% co-broks. I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't either.
When you
But
set
there
up
is.
a full search in MLS, you can only select listings that offer by your broker 3%.
Yeah.
So you can use that as ammo for,
Yeah.
if you're going to an appointment on an
All right,
expired.
here's what I would tell the buyer's agents on that. I know you're high level, right, Dan?
That's fine, Albert.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not uncommon for that. So one of the things that I throw out in a RE/MAX meeting like this, you'll learn more here in 90 days than you'll learn in another company in probably a year and a half. So that's one disadvantage of not starting out at RE/MAX versus Coldwell Banker and Century 21 because they have sweat hog programs. But you'll outgrow companies like that in probably about a year. But the first year of being newly licensed is very difficult with this company because we talk about a lot of concepts quickly. The other thing you can do on that, you can also set that as an HO homeowners association fee. So like let's say, hey, I don't want any HOA fee over 200. You can put a peak on that and it's the same concept. So you're only sending them HOA fees of 200 and less.
Which is good for an investor.
Yeah. So same concept, but I was not aware of
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
So,
But you have to do the full search. If you do a quick search, you can't.
Oh, that's
well,
right. You
I don't
can
think
do
you
the
can add
search.
that parameter for the co-broker.
So you can put that in when you're searching.
Yeah, so
if
if
you
you
don't
want
wanna
your
s-
clients only to receive auto email listings from you that have 3% co-broke, you can set that up.
Really?
So
right
they're
now,
not seeing
now
2.5.
here's where I was going with that. What I would throw out that could be a disability for you. Come on over here, Otley. It could be a disability for you. That you have to be kind of careful on is that with all the Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Remax.com, it's hard to hide listings from buyers. So watch this. You set it at 3%. You set co-broke's only at 3%, and then Chrissy's my buyer, and she says, "Well, why aren't you showing me the house on Evans?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know why that one didn't come up." And deep down in, you're saying, "Yeah, it's a 2.5% co-broke."
Yep.
Right? And then your buyer looks at you and says, are you really transparent? Are you really the real deal, right? So how do you combat that? You put them on a buyer-broker employment agreement that if the co-broke is less than 3%, the buyer will make it up.
That's a good idea.
On your buyer-broker employment agreement, it's amount offered in MLS or comma, if under 3%, buyer will make up the difference.
Jennifer Weiner makes them do that, I think.
I'm not a big fan, but whatever you got. The good news about this is I'll never tell you what to do, I'll just consult. And then you guys, whatever you guys do. If you want to sell a house for free, sell it. If you want to sell a house for $1,000, do it.
Isn't
If
it
you-
against ADRE rules to not show homes because of the commission amount?
Well, that's an ethics thing, yeah, it is.
It's not ADRE, it's
See,
the
that's what-
realtor code.
Yeah, it
Ethics.
seems like an ethical violation to.
It is.
It has to be, that's why
I'm
Jennifer.
not going to comment. I'm just saying that.
He's on tape.
Whatever is your business, your business. Well, oh, stop it. Whatever your business is, your business. All right, so be careful with that as a buyer's agent to just skip over stuff. Now you could say, hey, I looked at the house on Evans. By the way, it had 2% co-broke, right? Or 2.5% co-broke, right? You're saying to yourself, but the bathroom didn't look right. It was the wrong exposure. You want north, that one's south. You're east, yeah, you know. If they bring it up, right? You want to be aware of it because they will find it. You cannot hide information. It's not. They will find it in digital marketing. Trust me. All those websites that pick up our stuff now, they will find it.
I always show those houses and I always call the agent ahead of time and I ask them, why are you only doing a 2.5?
What do they
co-broke?
say?
A lot of times they'll immediately tell me, well, if you've got a buyer for this house, we could probably do a 3% co-broke. if
Oh,
you bring a
interesting.
buyer.
Oh yeah, you can. Okay, so great philosophy.
Great,
All right.
yeah.
So you can always, prior to showing, you can always call and ask for more, and then B, it has to be in writing. So even if they say we could probably do a 3% co-broke, if you write on that, are you getting a 3% co-broke?
No.
No.
I do it in an email. Like
Yeah.
I'll send out an email.
Even with that being said, let's say that she responds back and says yes, are you getting a 3% co-broke?
It's not guaranteed.
No, because who needs to sign it?
The seller's
Seller.
The seller and who else?
Broker.
The broker. Now, if they have a 5% commission and they want to give you a 0.5% bonus, they could probably get away with that. The seller wouldn't care because their net's the same, but do you have to have the seller's permission?
I don't know.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it's fascinating. That's why they're breaking it up on the back page of the ER. What is the co-broke? You guys have seen that, right? 6%, how much is going to the buyer's agent? You got to write that in there now. Right? So if you put 2.5, can you do a 6% commission and give a 2.5% co-broke and keep 4.5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know guys who've done 7 and paid 2.5
Yeah.
to the buyer's agent.
Yeah, back in the old days when we do land, I would do 10% commission and a 3% co-broke. And I kept 7.
Wow.
That's why they broke up that second page of the ER that says you disclose to your seller right now what the co-broke's going to be.
Most people think it's 50-50.
Most people think it's 50-50. Yeah, but I've had agents call me back and said, you know, especially when we're doing short sales, what the fuck? I didn't know you were getting 4. And I'm giving 2, and I'm like, yep. Well, why am I? Because I'm doing the majority of the work.
Yeah.
You know, so-
for sure.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna, okay, so let's make a call. All right, so you got this Robert guy here. We agreed that I'm gonna make the call and you're gonna drop packets off, right?
Yeah.
So this is Robert and, which one? This one's easier, Douglas and Linda.
This is Lisa.
That's Lisa? Oh my God, you should have been a doctor. All right, so this is Douglas and Linda. They have a home on Esteban in Desert Ridge. This is a little bit easier call for me because I've been farming this area with this brochure for like 20 years. So if anybody ever has something in Desert Ridge, it's a strong possibility I'm aware of it. Just because so this is a much easier call for me than it would be for you, generally speaking. But don't let that be the drunk monkey on your shoulder. They haven't relisted, right? You scrubbed these.
Yeah. The date I scrubbed them was on the top right of the
Okay.
first page.
Oh, they were only in the market 11 days.
You know,
Is that a high probability call if they were on the market 11 days?
No.
I say no too.
I just did one,
Yeah, we just had a
27 days.
27 days.
Yeah.
He was a doctor.
Usually they had a change of heart, but is it still a good contact? Yeah. Okay, so this is right. It's a good phone number. His name is Doug. He went to voicemail. So it also, I'm going to text him because I can tell it's a cell phone. Hey, Doug, Dell Rounds with Remax Fine Properties in reference to your house on Esteban. I know you're probably still getting pounded with that coming off the market. You're already receiving our newsletter on Dell Rounds with the Rounds team. You can Google me. I've sold more homes in that 85054 zip code than any other agent. Full name is Delbert Rounds. My partner Scott is going to drop off a marketing package to your front door today. And I'm hoping that if you and Linda decide to do something on your house on Esteban, that you'll put me in your interview list. You can reach me at 602-809-7653 when you get a moment. And I hope you're having a wonderful Thursday. Thanks, Doug. Bye. Cell number, Google, whatever your forte looks like. You could say, I live in your neighborhood. I live in this zip code. My kids go to Wildfire Elementary School, what's the one right over here in DC Ranch?
Copper Ridge.
Copper Ridge. Whatever that spin looks like, when I'm calling 85255, right? Even though I live in 85050, I say my office has always been, Carl, you've heard me say this, what do I say?
My office has been in the 85255 area code for the last 25 years.
25 years, right? If you're calling, what's the zip code you live in,
260.
How long have you lived there?
Oh, God. Since 1987.
Okay, I've lived in the 85260 zip code since 1987, 87, 97, 2017.
32
Thank you. 32 years. 32 years. My kids went to Desert Mountain High School, right? So use what you got. You all got something. You just think I got more, and I don't.
you're louder.
I'm louder. I am louder. But everybody in this room has something that I don't have. It just looks, you got that drunk monkey on your shoulder. Well, Dell can say that, but I can't. Well, yeah, you can. Because you could say my partner sold more houses in 85050 than anybody else. Am I your partner? I hope to God you guys look at me as your partner. Right?
I use that being as someone that's newer to Phoenix, I use that all the time because over the years, even though I haven't lived here, I've still seen like the Desert Ridge area grow and grow and grow. So I use that, for people looking in that area. And then the new buyout that just happened that I saw you shared on Facebook, people invested like $45 million into that Desert Ridge area.
Yeah, they lost it.
Well, but it's still happening, isn't it?
sold.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
sold.
Oh, it's sold again?
Yeah.
To who?
Crown,
Crown Properties.
How many acres?
96.
Was that, is that Deer Valley and Tatum on the southwest corner?
South.
South of High Street.
South of High
Going down
Street.
to the one-
Oh, where the big shopping center was gonna
Yeah,
go.
they're relaunching that.
They're redoing, they're gonna have a hotel.
Oh, it's
Is that good
So-
news?
Massive project.
Yeah.
Retail?
Yeah, so some commercial guys,
Like right by City.
Huge.
yeah, so from Pima along the 101 over to Tatum Boulevard. You know how that whole north segment is pretty vacant? That's the most highly sought out commercial segment in the country.
They just got master
Pima
developer
to-
rights over that whole area.
Pima
They did.
to Tatum,
I read that.
along the 101 on the north
North
side.
side.
Let me say it again, is the most sought after commercial sites in the country.
In the article I read, it was the most in-demand area in the Southwest. And then, I mean, this Crown guy, he was explained why. It was pretty interesting because.
Well, look at the cars that go along
Oh,
the
God, yeah.
101. I mean,
It's prime real
it's
estate.
prime.
Can you just real briefly explain how the state sells land?
Yeah. So first of all, let's say Carl wants to buy a piece of state land and he puts in a bid, not a bid, but an application to buy, and then they open up to public bidding.
Application to buy.
Yeah, and this is the cool thing about buying state land. The state will carry it. So that 45 million that those guys lost, there wasn't a bank involved, it was the state. The
Yeah.
state carries that. Because you can't go out and get $200 million commercial, well, you can, but you'd have to be Warren Buffett.
Blackstone or something.
Now, did the state
Trump.
have to sell it if there's an application or not? Because Darren said they'll only
Not
sell if
always.
it's at the peak.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep, so sometimes they'll go on the sidelines. But they still have to move land. This is one of the craziest things, and do you know what this money is earmarked for?
Education.
Education. Do you know how much money is in it?
No, a lot.
A lot, but here's what's crazy. You can't find out how much money's in it. So Ducey's the first governor that I've ever heard that has challenged the state land trust to start opening up their fucking coffers.
Well, that's.
You know, teacher pay is like 48 out of 50. But I'll tell you, man, as voters in this state, you guys should be all over that shit. Why can't we know how much money's in there?
And what are they doing with it if it's just sitting there?
Exactly.
It's in bonds.
Fucking spend it.
But why?
They're not
They're not
spending.
getting money.
Agreed. It's the craziest thing. If any of you can find out how much money's in the state land trust, I want to know.
We should all go back and call our
Well,
representatives.
It is. It's ridiculous how they can't. You know, it's like some secret thing, but it's all earmarked for education. And I think it's very similar to our Social Security system in the U.S., where they'll rob that shit in a minute.
I think the
And it's-
state has moved, the state land trust funds over to something else. And
Oh,
then
can they
think,
do
well,
that?
we'll just pay it back.
It's.
Oh, I bet they did during the.
But you hear these state land sales of 250, 300 million, 400. There's got to be billions of dollars in this fund that's earning, let's just go conservatively 3%, and our schools are crap.
Yeah. Buildings are falling apart.
I'm saying
all
how
that
much more
stuff.
tax revenue if our schools were higher and you brought more people here.
Oh, you'd get a lot more, like Intel and all those companies would.
Yeah,
totally.
I don't understand it.
Explain to me.
But
again,
if anybody researches that differently, that's my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was told,
Sorry.
let's say you and I find a parcel and it's state owned, we'll go to the state and they'll make us pay for the appraisal of the buyer. And when they get all done, if whoever buys it, you get the appraisal money back. If you end up with the bid, then you've already paid for your appraisal. But the state makes you pay for everything. So they have no cost when you go to buy a land.
yeah, and it was land that, it was given to them, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you'd have to go back to the 1800s, but it pays for all the costs. So let's say, oh, we want a school in that area, we need 5 acres, boom. Oh, we want a street light on that northwest corner, you're gonna pay for it, boom. Oh, we need to bring 3/4 inch pipe in, boom. Oh, we need this, we need that, boom, 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 all developer costs. That's why you see Scottsdale Road being widened for only like 600 feet, and then the next year, another 600 feet, it's because this guy paid for that, and this guy has to pay for that. And you're like, why won't they do the whole fucking thing? Now, sometimes they will,
And who pays for it?
the
The
developer.
developer.
Yeah, so sometimes they will, and then they encumber the land north of there for the fee. So like sometimes the city will say, okay, well, we're gonna do that 600 feet, let's just do the other 600 feet. It's gonna cost $75,000, and they encumber that next parcel.
With it.
Yeah, with a 10-year payback. That's why some people wait for that 10-year payback to expire, because if they sell it within that 10 years, that $75,000 encumbrance is part of the deal. But if they wait 10 years and one day, it goes away. It's fascinating how you run into parcels like that.
The teachers need to find out about that.
Yeah, they should.
That's
Well,
It is the weirdest, it's
Yeah.
one of the weirdest things, but if anybody gets other information on that, let me know, but that's my understanding of it. And Ducey's the only one that I've ever heard that has challenged that.
yeah.
And the Red for Ed and the whole, the teacher walkout in California, that kind of stuff was all part of that.
It's pretty interesting how that can affect our values.
Oh, education's huge.
Yeah, if the grades are down or they're, like, we're rated like 30th in the country for academic standards, but we're 48th in teacher pay. So, I mean, the teachers are there.
They're doing a better job than what they're getting compensated for.
Pretty much. But then you weigh, Chicago, I think it's 100,000 for a teacher. In LA, it's over 100. In New York, I don't know what they get paid. But, it's kind of commensurate with.
But their taxes
area.
are what pay for that,
Right.
I mean, their taxes.
Well,
are
property
like-
taxes, right?
Yeah.
Our property
Massive.
taxes are
Our
are
property
really
taxes are
reasonable.
really low.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna do one more call. So you're gonna drop off a packet?
Yeah, I need-
Oh, I know I got his cell number, right? So now I'm gonna text him, right? So I just made the call. So what are the 4 things you need to do in order to say I've communicated with the guy?
Text, email, leave a message.
Text, email, door knock.
And call.
Text, email, door knock, call. Text, email, door knock, call.
We found, with being with you, once we leave the packet, to leave a message. We left the packet at your door.
It's in this packet.
Oh, it's.
Do you have one?
Yeah.
Nope. I know you don't. I'm asking Scott. There you go. Okay, and here's the deal with that, Scott.
Color version?
Scott, you can door knock with nothing. Okay? What I want to be careful of, and you're not the only one, Scott, in this situation, right?
Right.
You get caught up into, well, I can't do it because of this, right? And that's your drunk monkey again. Because you can door knock with nothing, right? You can door knock with a pen and a scratch sheet of paper and just say, hey, I'm Dallas, I live in this zip code, I was on my way home, I was wondering why your house never sold, right? Let me look at your house, I'll give you 3 reasons why your house didn't sell, right? And you can use that, all right? Let me give you the 3 reasons why your house didn't sell. And the 3 reasons are always 3, and what are they?
Price, location.
Price, condition, and location. We said the same thing in just a different order. Price, condition, and location. So that's all you have to do is concentrate on those 3 things, right? So you could say something like, you want to be careful because you're interviewing, right? If you give them the 3 really bad things, so you don't want to go like, oh, this could be adjusted a little bit, I got a stager, right? Your price was probably a little high for your Western exposure, but I got some ideas about that. And don't tell them the ideas, right? Because they might just go back to the person they were listening with and run with them. But price, condition, and location.
So, I was just gonna tell you guys, for me, and it's kind of a crazy catch-22, but for me, door knocking gets rid of my call reluctance on new expireds. Because if I go leave a packet at a new expired, now I can pick up the phone and I can call them, and instead of being that 35th agent to call them, I can quickly get it out before they hang up on me. Hey, this is Ollie Smith, I just left a package at your door. And then start a conversation versus, hey, I'm just robo-dialing through expired lists that came up on my computer like every other agent. The catch-22 part of it is, it's a real pain in the ass to put all these packets together and run around all these different locations when it's so much easier just to pick up the phone and call all these people and see if you can get an interaction.
Is this the package you use, or do you have your own?
I use my own. But, so anyhow, I guess my point is that it's a great icebreaker to distinguish yourself from every other agent that's calling on the new expireds, because it's so highly contested, but it takes some groundwork. I mean, like, we go through these lists and try to, be sure. I don't want to go door knock somebody I don't have a phone number. Well, I'll go door knock somebody I don't have a phone number for, but I don't want to leave a packet if they're not home, because I have no way to call them to, follow up with them, so.
So here's what I say as your real estate coach, and you guys know this. Excuse, 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 excuse.
Yeah.
0%.
And
Just
I
put on
have
a note on the door and say, there's been a notice.
I'm gonna
I
get
will.
vocal with you guys. Excuses are like assholes. Everybody's got one and they stink.
At least nobody's gonna give you.
Because I can tell you guys, everything from my standpoint, everything that I hear a lot is an excuse. Yeah,
What you're saying is so true because Kelly and I door knocked last week
yeah.
in a neighborhood that we just sold property. And we get to the neighborhood and I'm like, did you do a just sold flyer? She's like, no. I'm like, why are we door knocking then? We're door knocking because we just sold the property. She's like, no, like we just need our team info flyer, like we're fine. And I was like all stressed because I was like, we should have done a just sold flyer. Like I'm so not wanting to door knock anymore.
Yeah,
like
and
I'm
see
so
that-
not prepared. But guess what? We had 5 people open the door. 2 of them invited us into their house.
Mhm. They will invite you.
We had a
It's
blast,
amazing.
and it
Yeah, it's
was-
fun.
Great. It was great. You don't need to be. It's literally just all talk more than anything. But we
Well,
need something.
well, thank
keeping
you
a
for
business
sharing
going
that
is good.
because it's a fact. And this sense of accomplishment afterwards is euphoric.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you feel so good about what you. It's like finishing a workout.
Right.
You know, it's a high, and you got to get addicted to that high, right? Get addicted to good habits, right? An alcoholic is just addicted to a bad habit. He or she could get just as addicted to working out,
Training
right?
the mind.
Or,
And
yeah,
they do,
and they do.
yeah.
I do. So seriously, guys, I'll go skiing, ski my ass off the whole day, and the next day wake up and exercise. And the guys I'm with are like, "Dude, you're fucking crazy," and I am in that sector, right? But at least I'm not, well, doing other crazy things too. So, all right. So I'm going to talk to you about another concept that Christy and I came up with yesterday that I had forgotten about. So Christy says, I said, Christy, go out and hit 5 door knocks now. She calls me back, right, and says, well, 4 were vacant. Well, maybe not exactly like that. 4 were vacant,
I did do some.
so I didn't door knock them because they have addresses of somewhere else. Meaning,
Down in North Dakota.
yeah, mailing address, occupancy address. You guys know how that's different in Maricopa County, right? And I said, well, why didn't you door knock them anyway? And she was like, well, because, and I'm like, no. If you door knock them, who's going to answer?
The tenant.
And what's the tenant going to do when that lease expires? They're going to move. So they're going to need another rental or it's a buyer, right? And Chris goes, well, I didn't think about that. And I go, okay, so now here's a whole other marketing concept, right? Go back in, Carl, what's your zip code?
85262.
Go into 85262 today and find out who signed leases 6 months ago. Because what are they going to be doing in 6 months?
Moving.
Moving. Highly unlikely that the agent that put them in that lease has even contacted them since then, right? So you're going to go door knock them and you're going to say, hey, I'm Carl. I see that you signed a lease 6 months ago. So 6 months from now is July. What are you going to be doing when your lease expires in July? So act like you know, and they're going to say, oh no, it doesn't expire till August. August, right? You just got information. All right, wonderful. Can I keep in touch and talk to you about what home ownership in Arizona looks like? It's a whole nother ballgame of something that I used to do that I haven't talked about for years, and you jogged my memory when you told me about the mailing address. In addition to that, if the mailing address is close, go door knock them at their mailing address. In this situation, I don't think that was the case. But I can tell you guys, a lead is a lead is a lead is a lead until you hound dog it to death. I told you guys a story about a year ago about a house that I door knocked that was vacant, and I saw the builder was LeBond. So I called LeBond, right? And I said, hey, you built this house on Sutherland Way for the, I don't know, Estes family. And he told me, oh yeah, she just died. And I go, oh really? Well, who are you communicating with family? Oh, Esther that lives in Mesa. Do you have Esther's phone number? And he goes, yeah. And he gave it to me. I called Esther and worked that lead for another 90 days. And eventually I got snookered out of the deal with an estate planner. They had a third-party estate. And this guy at some obscure bank on Camelback ended up hiring some agent that he knew because he was in control of it. But I worked it at you know, to the 5th layer, right? And you can do the same thing on any lead. You can do the same thing on any lead. You just got to work it to the 7th and 8th level. So now, go back in 852.